Hi, today I'll be reviewing the Boosted Board Mini X. Now before I get into the review, just a couple of things to mention is that I live in the UK, so everything I talk about in terms of roads and weather, they'll all be for the UK rather than necessarily where you live. Another thing to bear in mind is that I don't commute on this board every single day, so a lot of my usage is just for going to the shop or just riding around for a bit of fun. I did commute on it for around a week, but I'll get into that a little bit later. So I've done around 100 miles now on the Boosted Board Mini X, and I've found it to be incredible fun. I think that's the one thing that stands out for this board, is that it's just so fun, whether you're going to work on it, whether you're just going for a nice ride at sunset. It's always so fun to go out and do. So I went for the Mini X rather than the S because of the extended range battery life. So it says you can go 14 miles on a charge, though one thing I didn't really realise until after I already bought it and started researching more and more into the product is that 14 miles is probably on like the slowest setting, and it takes into account like hills and things like that. So I would say you normally get around 10 miles. But to be honest, I found that to be like way more than enough. To be honest, I've never once had to charge it halfway through or anything like that. As I say, my usage has been going for short rides or a bit of fun, a few miles here and there. So I'm glad that I went for the Mini X because I've never had to worry about that battery life. I've never had to slow down or change the way I ride. I can always just gun it at full throttle and it flies. So the speed on the Mini X is 20 miles an hour, and then if you go for the long boards you go to 22, and then the Stealth is around 24 miles an hour. So I wasn't really bothered about the speed, to be honest, but before I got the board. But since I've had the board, I just want to go faster and faster and faster, until that one day where I did actually fall off. So I didn't fall off going particularly fast, but it's been a long time since I've fallen off a skateboard or a bike or anything really at any sort of speed. I fell off, hit my head, which thankfully I had a helmet on, so no issues there. I scraped all one side of my body, scratched all my bag, scraped the board, my hands and things like that. It wasn't a major incident, as I say. I wasn't going that fast. I just hit some wet leaves and the board span on the leaves and then caught grip again while it was sideways, so I just went. It happened so fast that I just didn't have time to react. A few things that I really like about the board, as I say, I haven't been using it to commute to work, but those night rides where the sun's going down, you've got only a few, I don't know, got 10-20 minutes to just go out and blast it on the board. It's so much fun, like so much fun. You just don't have to worry about pushing it, you don't have to worry about anything else, you just go for it and enjoy yourself. The wind's hitting you. I imagine it's quite like having a motorcycle in terms of where they tend to be the vehicles that people go out for rides on, and sort of groups go out together. I find it the same sort of thing, but on a bit more of a easier level. Now the board is, like, I was surprised at how fast it is. Not just the top speed, but just in terms of acceleration and how it gets you there. And I think that's one of the things that makes it so fun. While I was researching for electric skateboards, I looked at a lot of remote controls and people saying that Boosted's is the best, and I haven't tried other boards, but I have to say that Boosted, I can't imagine a controller in any other way now. You've got the deadman switch and then the wheel, which just makes it so easy. You don't have to think about it. It's not something you're worried about pushing too far. Once you've ridden it for, I don't know, 10 miles, you just instantly know how much you need to push, how much you need to brake and things like that. What I did like about commuting on it every day was just, I was excited to go. It got me there faster than it would have if I drove. I didn't have to park. Everyone looks at you on it, and you can take that as a good or a bad thing. At this particular time it was a good thing. I didn't feel like someone was looking to rob it or anything. It was more like, oh wow, what's that? What I did find to be a bit of an issue with the board is the weight. Wow, this thing is heavy. You don't want to be carrying it around for long. I originally looked at the S, which I know is a little bit lighter, but really not that much of a difference. Was because I thought, oh well, if I ever do go abroad, I could possibly take it. I don't think I would take it, to be honest, just because of the weight of it. I don't think I want to take it. It's too heavy to take anywhere, personally. Unless you're riding it, I think it's going to be an issue. Now, one thing I have found over here in the UK is the roads are ridiculously bad sometimes. So, like, obviously if you get a new paved road, it is amazing, and again, makes it so much more fun to ride. You just don't have to worry about all these bumps and things. But when you have a bad road, it just vibrates you like ridiculous. And I know there's things you can do to reduce that. There's some sort of bushings and stuff you can change, but just as the stock board this is, it does vibrate you. Throw stones up everywhere as well if they're loose. They can get into the belts and things like that. So always be wary of where you're going. I didn't think it was going to be a massive concern, but I do think about it now a little bit more. One thing that I do like about Boosted is they've also got an Apple Watch app, and on that you can see the speed, the battery life, and that's always good just to be able to glance down at if you're on a long ride. You need to know your battery life, or think, oh, should I turn back now, if you're just going on a sort of a night cruise or something. And I find that sort of connectability with Boosted. I know you pay more than other brands, but I think it's worth paying that extra, knowing that you're going to get the support for things like the Apple Watch or apps and things like that. So would I recommend buying a Boosted board in the UK? Yes and no. I bought the board knowing full well that I'm probably not going to be commuting on it anytime soon. It's a great toy for me. It's so fun to go out on, and it sort of relieves a bit of the stress and stops you thinking. I think a lot of it sort of relates to a stress reliever for me. It gets rid of any thoughts about the bad day or anything like that out of your mind, and you're just completely looking at your surroundings and where you are. Anyway, that's it for me. Hope you enjoyed the review. Just as a little caveat, I will be editing this on my iPad. So mine's an iPad Pro first generation, 12.9 inch. I know there's a lot of talk at the moment about iPads. So what I want to do is try and edit on my first gen iPad, which is so much less powerful than the new ones, and just see how I get on. Anyway, that's it for me. Thanks for watching.